It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. With me, as always, I have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. Shawn, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Excellent. 4-0. Yeah, okay. I get it.
4-0. 4-0. Go Riders.
Riders. There they go. There they are. My Argos are on the thing there. They're looking. They're trying to screw up their first win of the year still. So they're working hard at it. Don't worry. And down in Connecticut, I got Muffler Mike, who's wondering what the heck we're talking about. Mike, how are you?
I know. Just, you guys are going to make me a CFL fan soon enough.
Yeah, we'll convert them.
Well, remember, NFL, the 3-point lead is safe with about a quarter and a half to go. A CFL game with 21 points and 3 minutes left is not safe. Much more fan-friendly, I'll tell you that. Just look at some of the games we've both been involved in, including our game against each other.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, before we get rolling, we have Quinn McLoughlin with us from San Diego, great up-and-coming goalie, and we're going to interview him. It's going to be a great time, I'm telling you. What a talented kid. So we got a little video clip to show you of him, as well as a lot of questions and stuff that he's going to let us know about. But before we get rolling, just a reminder to everybody that we are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and also Instagram Live. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please enjoy some of our affiliates across the Stream Punk Network, which includes Stream Punk Cinema, Stream Punk Combat, as well as a whole host of other things, soccer, football, even CFL shows for you football fanatics. If you missed a show, no worries. You can catch all the shows on YouTube, whether it be at Stream Punk Sports, Stream Punk Cinema, Stream Punk Combat, or, of course, all across, all the time for all of your lacrosse needs. Remember, when you come to our page, you will find retro games, interviews, our library of shows, as well as the library of shows from NLL Lacrosse Talk. And there was a couple of great interviews added this week. Brett Hickey, a former Rock and a former SEAL, was on there, as well as Pete Dubinsky. Both great interviews. You're going to want to take a look at them as well. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, remember that our show is brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top-quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. And how do you get a hold of them, you say? Well, first off, you have the QR code that's in the middle of our screen right now. You can go on to Instagram at sweet_60, or you can email them directly at info.sweet60@gmail.com. Go on to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Remember to add Lax Talk 10 on every order for an additional 10% discount on all of your orders. Why is this so important? Because if you're in the U.S. and have a strong dollar with a Canadian company, it's already discounted and you get 10% more off. If you are a Canadian and you want to get 100 pennies for your dollar, what a great way then to order it from 60. And they're working with us on a whole new line of merch coming real soon. As they come out, we will let you know. Without further ado, allow me to introduce my guest this week. It's Quinn McLoughlin. He's played for the Junior Seals, U.S. Box Club, Junior NLLers, as well as rec leagues and school teams. He's played on both sides of the border. He is only 14 years old, and he is already standing at a lofty 6'2". Quinn, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it. I know Sunday evening can be a busy time.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, first question that we ask everybody is, how did you get involved in lacrosse? What made you pick up a stick?
Well, I first got free tickets for a Seals game back in 2018, 2019. And as soon as we sat down in the stadium and, saw the ball going flying back and forth, I knew it was the only thing I really wanted to do. And so I joined my local field team, and then I tried out for the Junior Seals and went from there.
The rest, as they say, is history. What's kept you in it?
It's just fun. There's not a whole lot to say. It's just super intense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I decided to make you feel a little more at home because, the Seals are, as we call up here, Rock South because, there's so many former Toronto Rock players. You guys and we have almost the same backstory history. We got so many of the same guys back and forth. So, that'll make you feel a little bit more comfortable. Mike's also made you feel comfortable too.
Yeah, I have no Seals gear. Sorry.
That's okay, John. You're already in the West. We understand that.
Yeah.
Another question for you, Quinn, is who's been most influential in your development? Right from the word go, would you say?
Probably Cam Holding. He started the Junior Seals program, and he's been the head coach and manager for it since it started. And I feel like he's just kept everything together pretty darn good.
Right. Now, you'd mentioned you first started out with field and then moved over to box. Your preference is?
I'd say box.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot shorter field.
Right.
I don't have to throw the ball that far.
See, I never hear that answer, man. I always hear it that, I don't have to run that far, but, goalie, whatever. I don't have to throw it that far there. That makes sense to me. That makes sense, especially when you're trying to thread needle passes halfway up the floor. That makes a lot of sense. Now, before we get any further, your dad had sent me a bunch of clips, and I put them together just to show some of the stuff. And, I'm jealous as hell at the backdrop of this because, I said off air, all the years that we had sweating in summer ball in old arenas where the only air conditioning would be if somebody propped open a fire door and maybe somebody walked by on the sidewalk across the street. And, yeah, it was some intense times. But have a look at this. This is fantastic.
Hello. Full reset, full reset. Full reset, we're fine. Oh, we got
Those are beautiful pictures. And one thing that stands out to me is they must work a lot with you about position, always being in position, because you look like you're not out of position in anything.
Yeah, my first goalie coach, Moose Winery, really just hammered it in to, got to get back to your posts and find where you are, where the shooter is.
Right. Now, we see a lot of footage, and I talked to your dad quite a bit. And how many hours would you say you put in a week to get to where you want to be?
In a week, during mid-box season, probably I'd say 2 or 3 practices per week, each lasting 3 to 4 hours at least.
Wow, that's impressive. Very impressive. How many games in a year do you think you put in?
It honestly depends. I know last year I had 70, but throughout my career so far, I think it's been like between 60 and 88 box games.
Wow, that's a busy year. Yeah. It's a busy year. If we get in 2025 before we have to hang it up in the fall, granted, we have winter over here, a little tough to play outdoors. We've tried, but it's a little difficult, especially out in Saskatoon there. And
Yeah, we have like 2 months of summer.
well, he can throw really far, because when he puts it up, the wind carries it all the way to Alberta. It's
Yeah, they just keep bouncing and bouncing and bouncing because it's so flat.
It's a really long lead path, I'm telling you. How has the San Diego Steels organization, you mentioned Cam Holding, but the organization in itself helped in your development?
Well, Cam usually has some of the SEALs, I want to say, like inner workings. Some of their people come over and help with the junior SEALs and all that, and orchestrating some of the tournaments that they have down here in San Diego. And so I think it's just that they all kind of work together, for everyone in San Diego who wants to play box.
Right. I'm interested also in the junior NLL thing, because I know you made a trip up here to Toronto playing at track. And how did you get involved in that? What was entailed in getting here? Because that can't be easy to get all these teams from everywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm not totally sure on all the details, but from what I do know is that I got asked by Cam to come up and play goalie for the Seals and represent them. And then, most of my usual junior SEALs team also went up there with some additions, of course.
Right, of course. But that in its own right has to be a testament to your abilities to be asked to join the team and make sure that you're on that to be there. So it's a real testament to your abilities as well as your work ethic.
Yeah, it's...
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I didn't know you were going to keep going.
No.
It's just hard work, always pays off in the end.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your experience with U.S. Boxla and the West team there, because I have been such a fan of the organization as opposed to the mess that's up here in Canada with Lacrosse Canada. They seem to have all their ducks in a row and know how and when and with what they're going to build their teams. I've talked to a lot of the people who are at the end of the rope, being up in the pro levels and coaching. I haven't had the opportunity to talk to someone like yourself who is in the midst of it and being the recipient of all of this. What's it like being in US Boxla and the programming there?
It's definitely interesting. There's a lot of very different coaching styles throughout the different age groups that just like kind of complement each other as you're going through the different ages. It all kind of like ties in together eventually, I feel like.
Right. Now you've done some other things too, playing in Orange County Box Rec League, also high school stuff like that. Talk about that, because I would figure now with all the experience you have, you're starting to sail away from a lot of your former classmates and teammates, just with all the experience you've got.
Yeah, I try to not get away from my peers, because I know eventually I'm going to have to play with them or have the opportunity to play with them. But it's kind of difficult to comment on because there's so many different skills
Sure.
in all the teams that I've played with and all the ages.
Definitely. But again, I'm looking at your development and as a goalie and having all the being able to work on angles, work on leg stuff, working on arm stuff. And I know, again, talking with Dad when I was out in San Diego and seeing some of the things where you would go through a practice and do nothing but leg kicks and doing nothing but arm stuff to keep yourself engaged and keep yourself challenged. I'm right with that, am I?
Yeah, for the most part.
Right. Talk to me about going to Vegas and playing for Joe Walters and the Gold Rush team.
It was an experience. I'd gone up to the Wasatch tournament before with the Seals, and so I kind of had an idea what the tournament was about. I definitely was not expecting just the level of intensity that those guys had in Gold Rush for where their team's located up in Northern California, right next to brain fart, sorry, right up next to Shaden Santos's team.
Okay.
It was a eye opener seeing a different coaching style I wasn't really used to.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Let's talk about how you got invited to the Junior Montana Lacrosse League and Brown Bear Lacrosse.
So I was already going to Utah for US Boxa West, and my dad started posting on Instagram and Facebook different, videos and highlight reels, I guess, of just me trying to see if we could get up a team for nationals because the Seals had a scheduling conflict. And about day 9 or 10 of posting, Brown Bear Lacrosse reached out and said basically, hey, we're not going to this tournament, but we got this other tournament if you want to go. We have a spot for a goalie. And so my dad instantly agreed. So, yeah.
Right. Timing. Timing is everything in this life. And to be at the right place at the right time, some of the greatest discoveries have happened that way. And this looks like this could be one of those. You had mentioned about the Seals thing and the Nationals, and because of conflicting schedules, they weren't going. That had to be disappointing right away because everybody wants to go to the Nationals, right?
Yeah, it was a little sad at first, but now that I know I'm having something to do extra, I'm not super sad about it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Again, as long as you're playing and getting looks is the main thing right now, and getting reps.
For sure.
Now you've got the benefit of having some pretty good Seals coaches and goalies in there, like Wrigley, like Poulin, like Whipper's been out there as well. Have you been able to pick their brains?
I've been able to talk to Poulin for only like a couple minutes here and there. He doesn't coach often, but I've definitely talked to Chris about a whole bunch of different stuff. I have private practices with him on occasion.
Wow. What does he try and hammer home with you?
I work with a lot of passing skills with him. I've got most of the basics down, and so it's just passing for me, really, that we fix and work on.
Right. That can be a really big thing. Look at Mr. Del Bianco as a prime example of being the sixth defenseman, so to speak, because he's also the fastest guy on the floor. That never hurts. Have you had a lot of work with working on speed?
I do like skill ladder and like ball work with my hands and stuff, but I don't not like running a whole lot.
Right. Because the difference, of course, between field and box is about 35 pounds of equipment that you have to wear in the blazing heat to run back and forth, even from the bench and back. So, yeah, there's a number of goalies I know go to a knee after that. So. Another good thing about being 6'2" and probably still growing, that is less steps to the bench. Being 5'8", depending on which convenience store, more steps involved. Let's talk about men's league in San Diego. You've been doing some playing with the older guys as well.
Yep, high school and college and above.
Wow,
Impressive.
That's impressive. College stuff too. What's it like facing the different shots? Because, man, it's not a little difference. You're talking about a difference of 30, 40 miles per hour in shots when you're going from, 14-year-olds to 18 or 19-year-olds.
Yeah, because of how they schedule their practices and games, it goes straight from high school to the older age, and it's just like immediately, oh geez, I gotta like actually wake up a little bit. It's just like a slap in the face, I guess.
Yeah, it's the first one you don't see coming is the one that's going to be, wow, what was that? But it sounds as though you have everything, all your ducks in a row, and you have the right mentality from what I'm hearing. It's a cerebral approach, and never get too high or too low, because a goalie has to be like an Etch-a-Sketch. That's one of those toys when I was growing up, where kind of like a goldfish, where every 30 seconds we start over, because you can't let the last goal bother you, because the next one's coming at you, right? Have you had any thoughts on sixes? Because the Olympics are coming up in your neck of the woods in a couple of years' time. And if I remember right, that puts you right about the right age, in around 17, 18 years old, to start looking at that kind of thing. Any thoughts on sixes? Is there any programs of sixes that you're there? I know it's not a fair thing for a goalie.
Yeah, I have not touched sixes, and I'm not very hoping to. It does not seem like a fun time.
Not for a goalie, no. No. It was funny, though, because I was talking with Hall of Fame coach Bob Terring, and we were talking about the size of the nets and some of the other things that have come up in discussion of maybe making it a 4x4 as opposed to a 6x6 net that just seems to be like it's free fodder for any good shooter. But he brought up a really good point of a goalie without equipment in a 4x4 net will probably get killed. With the shooters being that accurate, yeah. So maybe give them a little bit more space and keep you all alive a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing just how much damage it does to a goalie after a game of sixes.
Yeah, I would hope that it didn't do it mentally to him, because, if you start thinking about everything that's going in and, you had a game where there's 47 goals because, again, big nets, small field, and all the other good shooters, you have to have a very short-term memory on this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I've never played. I don't really know a whole lot about it.
Right. Passing is going to come in very handy in that, though. Scoop it out and get it out, and all of a sudden the goal's on the other way, right? Let's get back to talking about box. What's up the rest of the summer? What are you up to?
Well, next week it's 4th of July, so got the whole week off, and then it's right back to it until school, and then I have tournaments just rapid fire coming at me.
Are you going across border again, or are you staying out in the States?
I think it's all in the U.S.
Right.
for now.
Oh, guys, Eduardo's with us. Hey, Eduardo, glad to have you with us. I'm going to throw it over to these guys. Maybe they have a question or two for you. Mike, anything?
Any superstitions or rituals that you've kind of developed, like, a specific pregame meal or, a specific playlist or anything like that?
I definitely have a tendency to just sit in the locker room an hour or two before the game. Coach says be there 40 minutes ahead. I'm already there, just sitting, getting mentally prepared.
Excellent. Shawn, you got a question?
Yeah, you said you're working on the passing part of your game. I guess what do you feel is your strengths of your game right now?
I feel like I have a fairly decent rebound control. I can control the ball and get it up real quick. I just really need to work on my long range.
Right. So, working on all these things, what do you need to work on the most, do you think?
Probably 5-hole shots.
Really?
Oh yeah. I've noticed lately as I'm getting up there in height, I'm having a harder time getting down low to my low corners.
That makes sense too. Now, we always hear bounce shots go in. Your theory on that, and how do you defend all these bounce shots, especially skip shots?
I think bounce shots are good in certain situations where the goalie's not fully set and he's not like totally looking. But to defend a bounce shot, you just kind of have to eyeball it out. Stick a leg out there, maybe your stick. Treat it like a normal low shot.
Right. When you're working towards your goal here, what do you think is the most the biggest thing that you already bring to the game?
That's tough to say.
It's self-examination stuff, eh? And
Yeah.
trying to be, I know you're very, very modest, and I want to try and bring out some of the more. Let's get that arrogance out of you. You're a goalie, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I feel like I bring the score down by a couple of points here and there.
Right, definitely. Now, two types of goalies, right? Angle goalie, reflex goalie. How do you categorize yourself?
Probably angle.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of get there and I wait as long as I can before making the move.
Yeah, that's a good theory too, because that freezes us as shooters. If we can't get you to bite, we're stuck. That's a really good point. What's upcoming after the summer when you're getting into the fall and into the winter? More stuff with the Seals. Is there the next level of things, or is it U.S. Boxel? How does this work out in the U.S.?
I think there's Seals in the winter, and then I know in after the second semester of school, it goes into field and all that, and I'm playing for my high school team. But I think fall, I think it's Orange County.
Right. I can give you an interesting story from way back when all these guys were doing major lacrosse league. Guys like Matt Vince would play it, and he would play out. He wouldn't play goal because he didn't want these guys shooting on him when he didn't have equipment and having things to go, man, I got you. And Matt Vince was in such great shape, still is, that he could run circles around all these guys out as well as in. You had guys like Bryce Queener, who would play in, but he might as well have played out because he'd be running down the field trying to score just about every time he got the ball. I guess trying to keep themselves amused. Remember, goalie is a different breed. It's not just in hockey. Lacrosse is the same kind of mentality.
Yeah, too much time spent alone talking to the pipes.
Absolutely. Quite a rather, thank you. Thank you very much for doing this and enlightening us on everything. You'll keep in contact with us as things go along. Sure. You'll jump in and let us know how you're doing.
For sure, yeah. As many times as I can, I guess.
Absolutely. And hopefully I'll make another trip out to San Diego in the next season or so, and we'll get to talking again. Thank your dad too. This is the son, guys, of the guy who was so hospitable to me in San Diego with everything, in pregame stuff, in tailgates, at the games, at the watch parties, and all the other things. So just a great family. I wish you the best. I wish you nothing but success. I'm hoping you come back over the border again, and I'd like to watch you track again and meet up with your dad again.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. That was Quinn McLoughlin. And, of course, he is with the Junior Seals and all the other programs that are out there in San Diego and all around the West Coast. And a real product of U.S. Boxla and showing just how great a program U.S. Boxla is and how they're developing everything and everyone. I think it's just a wonderful thing. And you take a look at the kind of player they're getting and the dedication. And I think we're onto something really, really big.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's get on to some West Coast lacrosse, Shawn. And how do we all do in the PGLL this week?
All right, PGLL going to Prairie Gold. They're kind of wrapping up the regular season here. In the juniors, let's see here. On Wednesday, we had the Regina Chaos with a 14-3 win over Saskatoon SWAT. Then yesterday, we had the Regina Chaos taking a 18-3 win over the Waynesburn Razorbacks. So we're going to round out the season July 2nd with the Prince Albert Predators and Saskatoon SWAT. Then July 3rd, the SWAT versus the Razorbacks. But that being said, hanging the playoffs, that picture's really already been set. So in the semifinals, you're going to have the Moose Jaw Mustangs hosting the Swift Current Wolverines. And then the winner of that game will face the Prince Albert Predators in the championship final for
Excellent.
the Junior Bees in Saskatchewan. And then over to the senior side of things, they didn't really have much going on this week. They round out their season, though, on Thursday with the Saskatoon Brewers against the Saskatoon SWAT. And their playoff picture right now, still looking at 2 versus 3 will play each other. They're still kind of working out what that's looking like. It's looking like it's probably going to be the 2 Saskatoon teams actually get the Brewers and the SWAT taking each other on. And then the winner, of course, will take on Standing Buffalo, the first place team in the final.
Standing Buffalo Fighting Sioux, my favorite name in the world.
Yeah. Then, of course, I mean, when it comes to Prezzies, it's kind of wait and see, I guess, with Saskatchewan. Usually, I think Jeff Shatler puts together a bit of an quote-unquote all-star team.
Absolutely.
Just that Saskatchewan can have a little bit more of a competitive chance at Prezzies, because usually they unfortunately don't do that very well compared to other jurisdictions. Into the Junior A side of things, in BC, I believe just when we went off the air last time, I mentioned that Nanaimo beat New Westminster 9-3. On Tuesday, Victoria came away with a 13-4 win over Delta. On Wednesday, Coquitlam defeated Burnaby 11-5. Thursday, you had Langley 13-10 over New West. Friday, Burnaby actually defeated Port Coquitlam 8-6. Then yesterday, trio of games actually. Coquitlam 13-7 win over Nanaimo. Victoria 13-8 win over Burnaby. Then a thriller between Delta and Langley. Delta scored 2 goals in the last 3.5 minutes about in the third period. Elijah Gill with a goal at 3:31, and then Ewan Patrick at 54 seconds to send the game into overtime 6-6. And then at this level, they played, I believe it's a 10-minute overtime, not sudden death, just whoever's kind of ahead after that time. And Nathaniel LaRue and Bailey Vinachuk for Langley scored in overtime to give Langley the 8-6 win in overtime.
Right. You realize Caden's watching us, eh? We hope to see Caden real soon, though. PLL segment is coming up in the next little bit.
And just finishing this off here, Sunday, we've got 2 games in progress right now. Nanaimo is up on Langley, 5-4 in the second. And Victoria is up 9-1 over Port Coquitlam in the second. And, of course he is.
The shadow knows.
Yeah. And Alberta Junior A, we had on Wednesday, the Okotoks Raiders were 11-5 wins over the Calgary Mounties. And then yesterday, I have a score of 10-9, the Miners over the Raiders. That's may or may not be a final once again. And then we have this afternoon, the Raiders over the Miners 14-4. And again, that's questionable final score.
Right. We had a bit of news this week. Couple of good, couple of not so great. First off, a trade, which was in OSL. And Brooklyn receives cash consideration. Hamilton gets sacked Sunderland, the senior B. This is, again, Hamilton bolstering up their lineup, and it's paid dividends so far. Here's the one, guys, that make me wonder. Regarding the Rochester Nighthawks, the Bagula family has now pulled away their ownership. And, the Nighthawks are looking for a new owner. If you got a couple of bucks available, they could use it. I saw an Instagram thing from their mayor saying that they're going to be working to try and keep the team in the city as well, which is good news. If we got the people at City Hall working, and maybe it's not a foregone conclusion that this team is going anywhere, because that'd be a shame. This team is really, really good, and it's got a great loyal fan base. And stay tuned. This is only the beginning of this story. Took a little bit of everybody off guard. I started hearing the silly stuff. Well, Bagula's going to sell everything except for the Bills. No, he's not going to get rid of the Bandits. You're not going to get rid of something that does 19,000 people in an arena every game. That's a cash cow. When you just have to open up the doors. He's already got good organizations in there. So we'll see what happens in there. I hope that something can come out real quickly, that Rochester can keep a team in that city, because, you go all the way back to the early mill and, the Griffins and things like that. Rochester has been a team always there, and long lineage, great history, great fans. I would hate to see that would pack up and go. That just is not great. And if the team were to fold, we thought there was already a tough time for guys to get in the league with Panther City folding. This would be an absolute crusher for anybody trying to get in, because there would be no jobs. And it'd be tough to try and push expansion on the Board of Governors if you're losing teams and trying to, instead of moving teams. So let's see how that all plays out. Finally, NCAA is moving forward, not backwards, when it comes to women's lacrosse. There's a number of rules in the rule changes in the making, but the biggest one here is this stupid one of them having to toss their stick for checking anytime they score a goal. It looks ridiculous. And especially if one person, like a Charlotte North, is scoring a lot of goals, you're going to keep checking the same stick. It's kind of nutty. So they're looking to get rid of that, and amongst other things with clocks and, to bring them into and up to the standards it should be for the athlete that they have. It's about time that they get the just respect that they deserve for being such phenomenal athletes, both field and box. Unbelievable athletes. And I'm hoping through this, and also with the PLL and WLL, that this starts moving much more rapidly in their direction, because they deserve it. And Michelle Boyer brought up a good point too. For any of these guys that think that the same rules need to apply to the same sports in either gender, get your head out of the sand. Different things, different needs, different attention to different details. And if we can actually keep the eye on the prize, so to speak, and keep the focus to where it needs to be, then I think we're going to be in much better position. And I think this is a first good step that I've seen. All righty. Why don't we, I see that Pat is just about ready to join us here. So I imagine Caden will be not long from just watching us to joining us. So we'll bring us on to our PLL and Mr. Water Dog himself, Pat Bernard. Good to see you, Pat. Of course.
What's up, gentlemen? What's going on?
Well, I'm going to make him jump on that thing, because why don't we start with this right away? And, hi, Pat. We wowed them, didn't we, guys?
Yeah.
I was until 500.
Boy.
If you're looking to pay your mortgage, taking our picks as your bets, I hope you enjoy the street. You might as well do it in the summer because it's warmer.
Yeah.
In the middle of winter, man, you might freeze to death. Because boy, oh boy, I look great, man. I was 2-0 after the Friday night, and then Saturday happened, and I went 0-2. I'm telling you. But,
How do I manage to just keep on going 500 every week? I'm 2-2 every week. It's amazing.
did you want to join them at the 1 and 3 squad?
Nah, I'm good. I'll say middle of the pack.
Half full, not half empty, Pat. Half full, not half empty.
No. I know. It's terrible. But yeah, first I was just, before I get in my water dog rant here, I was listening to you guys, man, talking about, Rochester moving on. Please tell me that's not so. I mean, for me, I got the opportunity to cover out there for a Wings and Rochester game, man. It's a nice little town. It's a packed house every time you go. I hope the Rochester Nighthawks don't move on. I mean, I love that little town. Great stuff. Great spot.
I'm hoping
Nice
you have a
looking
few
at
bucks
it.
in your
Yeah,
pocket
we
there,
should,
Pat, because
yeah.
we just need an owner. We got a team in an arena. We just need an owner.
Well, I mean, listen.
If the five of us put our money together,
people-
then we only
yeah.
need a whole
Yeah,
new
that's kind
owner.
of important.
That's a lot of shillings we're asking for. But listen, I mean,
So,
we could,
let me ask one more question on that. How much of an effect do you think the imminent CBA negotiations?
Rito, it's great to have you with us. Great to see you back on Thursday as well. Looking forward to seeing you soon again.
How much do you think the CBA negotiations? How much of an impact do you think that might have on a prospective owner looking to purchase that franchise?
I don't think it's going to be that much, honestly, because I don't think it's going to take that much to get this thing settled. I just think that they need to actually sit down and actually hammer this out. They have the right people in there, guys like Reed Reinhold, guys like Jamie Dawick. These are not guys that are going to go and just put their heels in the sand. They'll work on negotiations, and I'm pretty enthused that they will be able to get it together, because everybody knows that the worst thing that can happen to this league is if the players go on strike or they get locked out. That is the absolute worst thing, with all the steps forward that they've taken. So we're not talking about a bunch of guys that are just, maybe 15 years ago who don't really know what they're doing. We have very astute business people and lawyers involved, and have been involved in the game as players, as management, and understand what's at stake here. And I don't see anything really, really silly when push comes to shove. Right now, there can be posturing or whatever, but I'm sure that they will be figuring it out before it is too late. And this all gets together.
Yeah.
As for a new owner, I don't think that that's going to be an issue, because remember, we're talking about guys who are heavy in the business world, multimillionaires or above, or sports franchises. And I'm thinking that if anything, they're looking at tax ramifications on everything, not nitty-picky little things here and there. Oh, can't give that one, and I won't come in.
No, I mean, it's just, to me, I mean, like you just said, Gary, before I hopped on, I mean, the history there, I mean, you're an hour down from Buffalo, so you got the rivalry with the Bandits. I mean, plus, it's a great town. And by the way, Philadelphia Wings, take note, the Rochester Nighthawks know how to hook up the press box there. I mean, they got the best suites in the world. So kudos to the Rochester Nighthawks on that. But, let's talk some Water Dogs, shall we? Because that's why I'm here. And I feel like I'm more angry with this win than I am happy with it. I'm glad they're 3-2 heading into this All-Star break. But again, it took Bill Tierney to scream at these guys during a commercial break to tell them pretty much get your heads out of the sand and start playing the game right. Like, start defending the two-pointer. There's no perimeter defense at all. And which you saw in the first half, Ramar Dennis, I mean, great separation, shooting from the outside. Chris Kavanaugh found ways to snipe it from the outside. I mean, this team was really, really picking apart this Water Dogs team from the perimeter. and we had no answer for it. Now, luckily, the Water Dogs played their game, and all they did was create havoc, shoot, and Mike Sowers doing his thing, getting the pick and rolls, getting into the windows, and they picked apart this Redwoods defense that they have no zone defense. The Redwoods have no zone defense, and Philly made them pay for it.
California let me down this week.
Me as well.
Well, I mean, they're
Me as well.
they're the first, the first homecoming team not to split.
Yeah,
They're set, and I mean, we've been talking about it for the last few weeks with Pat, where the Water Dogs defense says, the ship sails after the third quarter. Well, the ship sailed after the third quarter for the Redwoods in both of their games this weekend. They got outscored 7-2 against the Outlaws, which we'll get to in the first game, and then they get shut out in this game against the Water Dogs when they were tied 9-9 going into the final quarter.
And you just look at the scoring breakdown too. Against the Water Dogs, 6 of your 9 goals came off 2-pointers. Where's your inside scoring?
Right, and that's where that's where the Redwoods fell apart, because they tried to play the Water Dogs game and playing the inside game, and other than Mally, they didn't have an answer. They didn't have an answer for an inside game. That's where Water Dogs, achieved well. That's what they're known for, to tear you up, to create havoc down low. But the part I got more mad, Mike, and we talked about this for a couple of weeks, the Water Dogs only attempted one outside shot. Only one outside shot. There was, again, this is where they're ice cold. I'm glad that everyone stepped up in this game, as far as the defense stepping up, stripping away, forcing turnovers, all those things. But they have to get back to perimeter shooting, or this is going to hurt their game in the long run. You beat up on a Redwoods team that's tired, that's fatigued from playing against Denver, and you made them win. You made them pay the piper, and you took the W. That's great. But in 2 weeks, when you have to face the Archers again, a team's notoriously good for shooting from the outside, you better buckle up.
Question for you, Pat.
Yeah.
Do you think that California just ran out of gas in the fourth? Or do you think that Philadelphia just tightened up enough that they just made it just miserable?
I would say it's option A. I think I think the Redwoods are tired, we're fatigued. That you got to remember, they just played 24 hours prior against Denver. So again, I think they ran out of gas. I think they're just beat and fatigued. And Philly happened to have enough gas to just get by and win this game. And like I said, it took Bill Kearney to scream at these guys during an intermission and tell them, start playing perimeter defense. Force those guys to come on the inside. Because if you saw that first half, the Redwoods are picking them apart from the outside. Chris Kavanaugh, Romare Dennis, those guys were just shooting lasers from the outside. Yeah. So that's the mass I've seen Bill Tierney get. Like he said, get your bleeping heads out and start, guarding the perimeter.
Well, Romare Dennis, we used to love him over at the Atlas, didn't we, Kate? That was a bright spot in a weak year.
He could separate. He could Romare Dennis, man. He could create separation and shoot some lasers. My God,
absolutely. Now Stathakis is on faceoffs. That's a bright spot because he's not going against a slough. He's going against T.D. Erlin, one of the greatest faceoff guys around, and 15 of 21. That was a definite bright spot for the Water Dogs.
Yeah, 50 Water Dogs winning 66% of their off the faceoff was pretty decent. Like I said, winning the faceoff battles, forcing the turnovers. I've seen a lot of forced turnovers. Good signs right there. But like I said, if I'm going to nitpick about the issues, it's just one attempt from the outside shooting is not going to go well coming down the stretch if you're there trying to make a serious playoff run.
Yeah, they got to be able to mix it up. So, let me just kind of a tangent again. How does everyone feel about homecoming weekend, because I'm starting to hear it more and more this season that people kind of think, well, maybe we need to do away with homecoming weekend because there's a team you don't get to see, the homecoming team, there's a possibility that they do get gassed at the end of the second game, and it's not competitive. But I mean, do the results really show that? I mean, we just had our first week where a homecoming team dropped both games. Every other week has been a split, and not all those splits have been win the first, lose the second, because they're tired. Some of them have been lose the first, win the second. So, that doesn't necessarily lend credence to the idea that maybe 2 games in a weekend is too much for these guys. They are pro. I mean, do you think the Rabels should look at switching things back and maybe not having the homecoming team or whatever city they're in have a double header?
Would it be too much?
I liked the idea when they first came out with it. I thought it was
great. And every team has one, so it's not like anyone's at a disadvantage. At one point, your team's going to have that double header. So what's the difference?
And to further it, I mean, listen, yeah, you're going to play the back-to-back, but also you're going to get a bye somewhere. So, like, Philly didn't get the first week to play, but, they made up for it on homecoming weekend. They had to play the back-to-back. Now, I do agree. I'm like, would it be a major difference if they played a Friday night and then a Sunday? Like, you got to get a Sunday night game. I don't know. It's like you said, like, for instance, if Garrett's got the number 1 squad team on, I got to play him on Friday. Well, then I'm going to play, the low end team. I got to play the Archers, to say who's a bottom feeder. Archers have the advantage because I'm pouring out all my beans against and getting ready for the Atlas, where, I got within 24 hours, I got to prepare for the Redwoods or whatever. And, just you can throw your B squad out there. Now, like I said, Denver's got whoever's got the upper hand because, well, one, you're going to play, some of your backups, and 2, you're tired. So that's going to go to the hands of the second team automatically.
And that's a good point you bring up. Maybe they move to a Friday Sunday format, and my thought there is, maybe they're headed towards, with the WLL, maybe sort of a regular season rather than just a championship series. And maybe what we could see in the coming years is a homecoming weekend consisting of the same setup, but now the PLL teams are playing on Friday and Sunday. So the homecoming team gets an extra day of rest. And on Saturday, you've got 2 WLL games going on in an actual season rather than just a championship series.
That would make up for it. That's not bad.
And then, hey, it gives the fans a full weekend, 3 days worth of lacrosse. So,
absolutely,
yeah, that wouldn't be it's not a bad idea to mix up the genders. You know what I mean? At least, like I said, you as a fan, as a War Dog, like if you have War Dog, male and female teams, and they're kind of like splitting the duties. Like I said, that help benefits too. So. Yeah,
especially just kind of splitting the women kind of between the 2 men's games kind of gives more eyes onto the women's game.
Yes. Yeah. So, but yeah, so trying to get back to this game though. Again, your player for Philadelphia was Jack Hanna. Again, those guys, he was just a monster, getting a hat trick, 3 goals. Tom McFoy, 2 goals. But Mike Sowers just being a playmaker, an assist machine, just 3 assists. Looked good out there. Looked good. Looked like his old self again. So very happy to see. Very happy to get a W heading into the All-Star break. But coming out of it, you got the Archers again waiting on the other side. So we're going to have to buckle some things down on that side and get ready.
Absolutely. Well, you got a week to get themselves all in gear. Next week is the All-Star game and the skills competition. My favorite of all the weeks because I love that skills competition. I still think the NLL is dropping the boat on this one, but that's just me. But hey, Pat, as always, appreciate everything you're doing with the Water Dogs.
Yes, I thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens going from here. Listen, I got plenty of bananas to go, but if these boys continue not shooting from the outside, they're going to go rotten on me fast. So they better start finding some ways. I mean, I don't know how many times I can come in here and preach to you guys about this team not shooting from the outside when last year that's all they were notorious for, and then not executing the plays. It's starting to really, really drive me up a wall here. Now Bill Tierney is starting to scream about it. So let's get something together here, please.
Right. Well, happy 4th of July. We got Canada Day up here on Tuesday. Before we see you next week, you'll be celebrating the 4th. So happy 4th of July.
Got to ask you, burgers or dogs? Where you go first?
We're going burgers, bud.
Burgers.
Oh, you're a burgers man. Now, Mike Larrow, he's going for the hot dog.
Costco, man. I see a hot dog coming out of my ears. You don't look at the hot dog I see all the time. Give me a burger. Give me one cooked well, too.
Oh, the gobbler's going for the burger. All right. Yeah. Let's go some burgers, some deviled eggs, some baked beans. Come on. Let's go gobbler style.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Get a side rack of ribs on the side grill, too. I stopped there, man. I got salivating, got a fork and knife. We're ready to rock and roll here,
That's what I'm talking about. All right, gentlemen. Have a good one, and go Water Dogs.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Pat. We will see you next week talking about the All-Star game and what the Water Dogs are going to be doing the week after. Caden, we're going to bring things up. We're going to bring the tempo up, the crescendo up. We're going to bring it up with the Atlas. The Atlas won again. Yes, he did. Go horns up, baby.
So, I mean, let's start with how it started out, that Utah really outplayed New York. I mean, they were controlling the entire first, 5-2 at the end of the first. So it's an aspect that Entenmann was just not making the saves.
Right.
He really struggled in that first half. There was a lot of goals that he could have stopped. I mean, let's look at that very first goal. Grant Ament completely juked out Danny Logan. I mean, there was nothing that the defense could have done on that play, giving Ament the full run to the net. But the second goal, he probably could have stopped. The long pole goal from Wires, he definitely could have stopped. And the fifth goal before the end of the quarter, where he was right on the post, he definitely could have stopped. So it's an instance of consistency, I think, with Entenmann. Like a good week, a bad week, then a bad start, continuing up, but it worked as it went on. They really kept rallying around him, and it showed. I mean, after that quick 2-goal lead for the Archers, it was a quick goal from Xander Dixon on a, might I say, beautiful feed from Matt Trainer, and it's just great to see. That's why I'm thanking Penn State, because Matt Trainer has genuinely come into his own this season, and it took him not that long. I mean, the rookie coming in for the Atlas this season, he had that beautiful goal when he was in Philadelphia.
Right.
And it's just gotten better and better and better. He led the Atlas this week. I had it right here. Hold on. Leading the Atlas this week, he had 2 goals, 2 assists, and the game-winning goal, which is just, more eyes on him. And the announcers were saying it, that they have to just let him, that New York has to let Trainer keep doing this, because it just seems like you give him the ball, he's making magic happen each and every day.
Absolutely.
I just want to go back to the Entenmann thing real quick. I believe it was the end of the first quarter. He started the game wearing turf shoes. The broadcast crew mentioned this. He started the game wearing turf shoes and switched to cleats, I believe, after the end of the first quarter. So, how much of a difference that made, I don't know, but he only allowed 3 goals the rest of the way. So,
I mean, it definitely seemed like it made a difference. But the idea with the cleats is that maybe he just felt more, I don't know, stable to the ground. It's just that he's able to lock his feet in a bit more compared to the turf shoes.
Yeah, because they did discuss last year. I guess there were some issues on that field too, where it got really dry over the course of the weekend, and just the conditions on the field itself changed. So it sounds like maybe that happened again, and maybe there was just some moisture, and or it started out dry, and things got a little soupy, and maybe Entenmann just wasn't finding the footing with the turf shoes and decided, hey, I need a little more traction. Get me my cleats, and things seemed to change after the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, 3 goals after the first quarter. It's just he really locked in. He locked down. But I kind of was thinking about this leading up to the show. It was the Baptiste goal right after the face-off. And it's not Trevor Baptiste. It's Trevor Baptiste, because my God, that man is a monster. That man is a monster. He forced his way to win that face-off, and he just forced himself to the net. He says, I'm scoring here. You're not stopping me. Good luck. And I would just like to see more of that. I would just like him to take that confidence and say, like, all right, I'm scoring. Good luck stopping me. Because if he puts his nose to the ground and just starts train wrecking through everybody, it's going to be a rough go for the rest of the PLL.
Agreed.
Now, what about the schooling of Mike Sisselberger by Trevor Baptiste? That was ugly, to say the least. Ugly.
He taught him. He taught him how to do it. He said, "Watch." He said, "Watch this." And winning 19 of 22 at the face-off dot, that it just shows why year in, year out, he is the PLL face-off man of the year. And out of all of these guys that you're dealing with face-offs, TD Erlin, Joe Nardella, he continuously puts himself ahead of the pack each and every year. And it's genuinely impressive to see in this type of game when he's able to take 19 of those face-offs, giving New York extra possessions, and doing it in a way where after that first quarter, they could have easily backed down and say, we're giving up. 5 goals in the first quarter when it didn't seem like Entenmann had his game, they could have easily given up, but they never faltered. They stuck with their game, and they kept with it, and that led to the comeback.
What about the fourth? What was so different about the fourth that they were able to shut down Utah altogether?
It was, I mean, I think it was, first of all, it was a look of Danny Logan. Let's take a look at Danny Logan. I mean, it's having him back. I think having him back for a full, after last week, having him back for a full game is just kind of that confidence right there.
Right.
That was probably the best defensive quarter I've seen out of the Atlas this season.
Right. Something we've been hoping for the first few weeks that's finally come to fruition. Now the thing is, can they sustain it? If they can sustain that, then they're a force to be thought of come the last weeks instead of the middle weeks. And that's what we're all gunning for, isn't it?
And then I kind of looked at the whole stats of the game. I mean, the Atlas led in every category. They led in ground balls. They led in shots on goal. They led in turnovers. They dominated the faceoff. The only thing they didn't lead in was the saves. But I want to look back at the faceoff, at the turnovers. It's the Archers were able to cause 13, while New York only caused 8. Like, yes, it's a aspect of the Archers throwing it away more, but it also has to be New York is not causing as many turnovers as they nearly should be. I mean, a completely defensive dominated fourth quarter like they had, and they're only causing 8 turnovers the whole night.
Right.
That's just, it's good, but with how well they played in that fourth quarter, you'd think it'd be at 10-13. You'd think they'd be matching with the Archers.
The thing that stands out to me, and we talked about this, guys, in NLL as well as PLL, is when Jeff Teat isn't having the game of games, can the team still win? Ottawa hasn't quite figured that out yet. I think New York is starting to figure that out now, because you take a look at how the goals are spread. Trainer with a couple, Schellenberger with a couple, Dixon with a couple. Teat had his, Baptiste had one, Stevens, Kostiuk. It goes down a list. That is a balanced offense.
Yeah.
Now, if you hammer on one guy, that means that there's another guy sitting there open. And if everybody is passing it and everybody is doing their part, then you can't just key on Jeff Teat, which makes him twice as dangerous as he was before.
It's really, because I was about to go into this to the team stats as well, so thank you for going with that. It's great, like you're saying, that they think, oh, now we can lock down Jeff Teat and the Atlas won't be able to do anything. Nope, here comes Xander Dixon. And then we're like, all right, let's go lock down Xander Dixon. Nope, here comes Schellenberger. And then let's go lock down Schellenberger. And rising out of the ashes, here comes Matt Trainer. I mean, this is what the Atlas wanted. They wanted that offensive consistency and stability around the board from all of their attackers and from all of these offensive threats they have, and they're finally starting to get it. And then, I mean, let's look at the Archers. Obviously, 8 goals kept them low. Connor Fields led them with 3 goals, 2 assists. 3 goals, no assists. Grant Ament led them with 2 goals and an assist. Then it was O'Keefe with a goal, 2 assists. Wires with the long pole goal, and my boy Dyson Williams continuing with a goal. I just love seeing him continue to
Pair it up.
Yeah, I would love it. And then it's just going to be more confidence jumping in to next season for the NLL.
Right. And on a side note, Caden, with Rochester, Pat forgot about the one rivalry that's even closer, of course, is Albany.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just been kindled over the last year and a half, and it would be a shame if that extinguished.
It was really shocking to see the whole thing with Rochester and just the sudden announcement that they're shutting their doors. And I don't want to see that happen. I truly don't. Like, we already had Panther City shut down last year, and I don't want to see another team go down, especially a team that just had the MVP with Connor Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like, and a team that is continuously growing year in, year out, and they proved a lot last season. And I love seeing that fight of the Firewolves and the Nighthawks.
Absolutely.
So another note of the Rochester situation too, guys. Let's not forget this fan base went through this once already when they got moved to Halifax.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the most strangest thing because I've never seen a team move and then get an expansion team in its place ever. So it was almost a second wind at that moment. So you'd hate to see that go fleeting away.
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't. Rochester should be,
especially after you just gained your fan base back.
Yeah,
because the fan base was pretty pissed off when it left, even with a new franchise being given. Because remember, the guys that were in the home dressing room were now in the visitor dressing room just the next year. As crazy as that sounded. And fan base has been coming back steadily over the last couple of years, and they suffered through some real lean seasons in the expansion years. And now they have this team that is literally a player or two away from really doing something great. And just like Panther City, well, they had nobody there, but a great team. I'd hate to see another great team go up in smoke. Because like I mentioned before also, the idea with all these players, we spend so much time on all these leagues, developmental and everything else, to make sure that we have a good pool of players. And then we keep shrinking the prize. So they have nowhere to go. So what happens? A year, maybe 2 years, they sit there on the cusp hoping to get in. Then they get disillusioned, and then we lose. I always talk about how we win as fans. We lose as fans because some of the greatest players will never get a chance to be the greatest players because there's nowhere for them to play.
Yeah.
So we need to really, really be careful on how this works and what the league is going to do afterwards when it comes to expansion, because it needs places for these guys to go. We're already probably a year behind in all of this because of the Panther City thing on homes, because ALL never looked so great as it did last year. What do you think? You won't be able to get into ALL and play if something else goes down. It's soon going to become NLL2. So great for the ALL, but not great for when you're trying to be the fourth big league. And with the Olympics around the corner, and we want everybody to see how great a sport that we have. And it is, if we can get out of our own damn way. And that's been our Achilles heel forever and today. We can't get out of our own damn way. So enough of the posturing or pride or whatever the other stupid thing is going on there. Let's get this fixed. Let's get this other part fixed. Let's move towards forwarding and getting some expansion happening. Let's get these players playing so that we can actually watch. Like I've always said, we're the one sport where we get the greatest players in the world every single game.
Yeah.
You don't get it in hockey because there's too many different leagues. You don't get it in football because there's different leagues. You don't get it in soccer because there's 475 leagues.
Yeah.
This is the greatest players playing in every damn game. Let's make sure they're able to play.
I'm 100% with you, Gary, on the expansion thing. Like, because we sit at the talent level, we need it. My fear is we can't rush into it, though. We can't have another Panther City.
I would be absolutely, I would be blown away, and I would be sick to my stomach if I didn't think that somebody down there has done a little bit of homework into new locations that make sense. Places like Laval, places like Quebec City for a secondary, places like Winnipeg, let alone places in the U.S. that are viable. You know, I know we talk about Detroit. I know we talk about Baltimore, though Baltimore's, for some reason, it never catches on, even though it's one of the lifebloods of the formation of these leagues. But these are good locations. We hear about Kansas City as one for a Midwestern one. You know, there's always Seattle comes up, which wouldn't that be a great rivalry with San Diego and Vancouver, let alone Calgary. And we hear about Edmonton, if they can come back. Well, they're not going to come back if we don't have our ducks in a row. Certainly not. But maybe.
Well, we know Edmonton's not coming back unless the Oilers are involved. So that's
probably a good thing, too, because you need to have that kind of backing. Otherwise, we have this, well, I don't feel like being an owner anymore. Yeah. Which is just another reason why Sakavitz's blueprint from way back when was correct, right? NHL, NBA, or Joe Tsai kind of money, and you have control of your arena so that you're not number 7 on the list for dates, so you're not having a Tuesday morning, and then you work that way. But, let's hope that smarter minds in the NLL are working on this with the city of Rochester and then with themselves and the board of governors to try and figure out what next to do. Because if they sit on their laurels and are waiting for everybody to stabilize in every single market, we're going to lose a lot of really great players to the business world. Because remember, they went on scholarships so that they can go for their next step in life, but they do want to do this step in life first. So, sorry, I got off on a tangent. My apologies. I'll get off the soapbox right now. Mike, we keep going.
Yeah. Well, the first
Thank you very much. Appreciate
first
that.
game of the weekend. Like I said, Redwoods Well, let's hope not.
Hope not.
Yeah,
I
it's-
hope not.
No, I hope
God,
not.
I hope not.
The Redwoods dropped their first game before the loss against the Water Dogs to Denver, 18-12. Outscored 7-2 in the fourth quarter after it was a 1-goal game. Another big night for all the Tewaaraton Award winners for for Denver. Pat Kavanaugh, 5 goals, 3 assists. Brendan O'Neill had 2 goals and 2 assists. Logan Wisnauskas, 2 goals and an assist. Jared Bernhard, 2 goals and an assist. Justin Anderson, 2 goals and an assist. Ryan Terafenko had a pair of goals. Luke Weirman was 18-31 at the dot, grabbed 11 ground balls and had a goal. And Logan McNaney, 15 saves, 60% on the night. He's 3-0 as a starter now, and Denver's won 3 straight, and they're on top of the West now. So how quickly things change in 3 weeks. For the Redwoods, Andrew McAdory, 2 goals, a 2-point goal and an assist. Sam English had a pair of goals and an assist. Dylan Malloy, a pair of goals. Chris Kavanaugh had a 2-point goal and an assist. Chase Erlin, 12 saves on the night. And T.D. Erlin, 13-24 at the dot with 9 ground balls. But Redwoods is kind of reeling after that 2-0 start.
Yeah, this wasn't just a beating. This was a beat down.
Yeah,
Every
I mean, really,
quarter.
it was the fourth quarter, and I mean, both games.
The first quarter didn't really help them much either, right?
Disappearing act pretty much in the fourth quarter. They managed basically 2 goals over the 2 fourth quarters.
Yeah. But I say it didn't start well either. They're down 6-3 after 1. It's just, it's hard to fight uphill. And then by the fourth, it's sliding downhill.
Yeah.
So
It's a little fight.
This
and
next
like a little
couple of weeks are going to be interesting.
A little bit of fight back for California in that third, but they just couldn't stick with it. And after their incredible start in the first couple of weeks, it's interesting to see this kind of drastic drop, I would say.
Well,
Yeah.
it's entirely about face, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any, silver lining, it's hey, every team is 3-2 or 2-3, so you're only right now a game out of potentially a playoff spot, or so. I still think it's kind of anyone's game.
Yeah.
Going into the second half of the season.
Right. All right.
Really happy to see the Atlas take at least a tie for first with Boston and the Water Dogs, and I mean the 7-11, 7-12 week of in Chicago, they face off against Boston in a rematch, which is the battle for first place in the East. And
Boston looked pretty human this weekend, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because they're playing at like 11 o'clock at night. Our time.
But
I'm like playing in the middle of the morning.
Yeah, that definitely could have affected some players. So, being way out west this past weekend, but Cannons do drop a 14-12 decision to the Chaos in the final game of the weekend. Matt Campbell, 2 goals and a 2-point goal for the Cannons. Coulter Mackesy had 2 goals and an assist. Marcus Holman, Asher Nolting, Alexander Verdaro each had a goal and an assist. Ryan Drenner, Ethan Rawl, and Mick Kelly each had a goal. Colin Kirst, 13 saves. And Zach Tucci, 11-25 on faceoffs. For Chaos, I think story of the night's got to be Blaze Reardon, second game this season with 20-plus saves. He finished with 21, just shy of 66%. Owen Hiltz, 4 goals on the night. Sergio Perkovic, welcome back, 2 goals and a 2-point goal. Josh Awada had a goal and an assist. Adam Charlambides had a goal. Ross Scott had 3 assists, Jackson Eicher 2 assists, and then Ray Dirth, his first professional goal is a 2-pointer in the fourth quarter to basically win the game. So for the only score of the quarter. So congratulations to him. And Justin Inacio, big game too for the Chaos. 15 of 25 on faceoffs and 11 ground balls. So
Right. My boy there, Owen Hiltz, looking good, eh?
yeah.
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 Looking real
It's really
good.
interesting for the Cannons to pick up 4 goals each quarter and then just get completely shut out in the fourth. 4-4-4, and then nothing in the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a story of the weekend. I mean,
Yeah, teams have gone up short, right?
in the fourth quarter, someone just falters.
But it's Carolina. Carolina is actually the opposite of all the other ones, where they start off very slow, had great middles, and petered off at the end too. So,
yeah, and I mean, I think they still have some issues on. Well,
look at the pieces they're missing.
Yeah.
When you lose those kind of pieces, which I watched live yesterday because they're all at Six Nations. How do you replace that? I realize a couple of years since Dane Smith's been there. Excuse me, but it's been only this year. Josh Byrne, Ian McKay, and a host of others, and Chase Fraser also, that aren't there, and that's a lot of goals. They're not there.
Yeah,
Chris Cloutier as well. So,
yeah, the entire Bandits. The Carolina Bandits had to look for a new name. They went with Chaos now.
and the Chaos don't like it.
Apparently not.
I
But
mean,
they look pretty good this weekend overall. And Boston's no slouch. So, you have to wonder, have they figured it out? And my answer to that one is let's wait for 2 weeks and see how they react. Because, any given Sunday, right?
it's true. It's very interesting to see Carolina kind of actually hold a dominant game, because it kind of seems like they held just every aspect. The only thing they really didn't have control of was the cause of turnovers, and for Boston having only 13 on the entire night, 9 of them were caused. So that I feel like speaks well to Boston's capabilities in terms of how much they cause turnovers, but in the same way, it also kind of gives you a lot of look at how Carolina is not as careless with the ball as some other teams would be. I mean, obviously, looking at the Atlas and the Archers game, for the Atlas to cause 26 to get 26 turnovers but only cause 8. I mean, that's just kind of like that whole drastic difference.
Right.
Yeah, and they don't have an easy road second half of the season. 4 division games, 2 against the Archers, 1 against the Outlaws, 1 against the Redwoods, and they also still have to play the Water Dogs. So the Chaos still do have a bit of an uphill climb, even though they're only 1 game out.
Like you said, it's right now, because of how close this week is, how close these games have been, and how split the homecoming weekends have been. It's right now is anybody's division to take. It's so close. It's like a neck and neck race. But for Carolina, they really need to buckle down if they're gonna keep themselves in, because, like you said, it's an uphill battle for them.
Yeah, and the other thing working against them is their scoring differential too. Especially after that route they took at the hands of Whip Snakes the week before, really has kind of put them a little bit behind the 8 ball. So,
and I kind of wonder is, like, obviously, Chase Fraser, or no Fraser, Smith, Cloutier, have they finally picked out their scorers in Carolina that they can fully rely on, that obviously aren't the Bandit guys.
I mean, I think that's still a work in progress. They've been shuffling guys in and out of the lineup. I mean, maybe it becomes a little more clear with the injury to Shane Knobloch. I mean, it's obviously one less talent they have, but it might allow some guys to kind of come in and solidify roles. So
Right.
I think that remains to be seen.
Definitely. All right, let's leave it there this week for the PLL. Again, this coming week is the All-Star game, so we all have a little bit of a break on this one. Picks, guys. Picks. East or West? Caden?
East.
Ooh,
East
Right.
Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go East as well.
Yeah, I guess I'll lean toward East.
Well, now I know the West is going to win because all four of us are picking the East.
Oh no, Gary, why'd you do it to us?
Jinxed it.
No, East Coast,
What do
West
you
Coast.
think?
Good thing this doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only one. Only one, Mike. It's the 0-4s that start hurting, right?
Yeah, I have one more win than weeks they've played. So what's that?
Hey,
tell you?
I got the only one that mattered. Like I said, California kind of screwed on me, but now I know not to rely on the homecoming team to sweep.
There you go. I'm with you on that one. I got beat on that one also. But anyways, Caden, as always, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on, guys.
Have a great week, and we will see you next week talking about All-Star games, yes?
Oh, let's go. East Coast, best coast.
And we will also be talking about, of course, the skills. The thrills in the skills.
I cannot wait.
That'll be
That's
fun,
what
yeah.
that's the part that I'm, let's go. Let's go.
Have a great night, guys.
Take care, Caden. Thank you so
Caden.
much, as always. All right, guys. Let's pivot on over to some of the box stuff again. And Ontario Junior, busy week again. And Burlington won, guys. Back on Monday, they beat Kitchener 15-11. The Beaches have been rolling along. They beat Peterborough also on Monday 13-6. Whitby also rolling, beat Kitchener. They had a rough week, Kitchener did. 12-7. Mimico beat Burlington because now the thing fell from the sky. They had their win this week, 11-6. Whitby then turned around and beat St. Catharines 10-6. Mimico and Brampton hit just an absolute slobber knocker. It was 9-8 for Mimico in overtime.
Almost an hour and a half.
Didn't take
in.
long for Rogers
Yeah.
to start hitting on me.
Well, here we go. Yeah.
And Rogers starts to look on me again. They just don't like the juniors. But Peterborough came back. They beat Oakville 13-7. I got to do it quick before Rogers finds out I'm still alive. Orangeville. They beat Six Nations. Now this looked like a partial score, 5-2. So you're going to see what happens once the playoffs roll around, and the number 1 and number 2 in the stands. I'm telling you, this is going to be an interesting playoff this year. Burlington and Toronto played to a hell of a finish. It was 16-15, and the last one who touches wins the game. Orangeville then turned around and beat Kitchener 8-6. And Six Nations beat on Brampton 12-7. We're in Friday now. Mimico beat Oakville 11-5. And Peterborough beat St. Catharines, another team that had a rough week, 8-3. On Saturday, the Beaches took on Mimico and beat them in Mimico 10-4. Six Nations beat Brampton 14-7. Boy, they're having a rough time this year. But according to Patty O'Toole, one more year and they should be back up there. So I take him for his word. St. Catharines did turn around and beat Kitchener 11-9. And the last game of the weekend happened is happening this evening. It is 12-9 for Orangeville over Whitby. In the standings, Orangeville is sitting atop the standings with a 15-2 record, 30 points. In second place right now in Six Nations, 12-4. The Toronto Beaches at 11-5. Whitby right behind them at 10-5. St. Catharines, because of a rough week, has dropped down a few spots. They're at 10-7. Peterborough right in the middle of the pack there, number 6 at 8-7. Mimico at 7-9. Kitchener at 5-11. Again, a rough week. Burlington 4-12. Oakville 3-12, and Brampton at 2-13. Ontario Series Lacrosse had a smaller schedule this week, but that didn't come without moments. The Six Nations Rivermen played in both games. And, against Hamilton on Friday, Hamilton comes out on top 12-10 on the strength of Garrett Hayes' hat trick. That was the difference maker in this. Hamilton got out to a 2-0 start on goals by Trevor McDonald and Dawson Brown, but 2 goals quickly back by Marcus Elvin and Zach Hairwires made it 2-2. Hamilton comes back with Alec Tamas in transition. With only 11 seconds left in the period, Gareth Hay makes it 4-2 for Hamilton after 1. Six Nations comes out roaring in the second. Tyson Bombury and Ross Hill score in the first of the period. I'm still here? Okay.
Yep. You are.
In the first 2 minutes of the period, and it is tied again. Jaden Patterson and Zach Hairwires trade goals. We're still tied. Hamilton puts together a 3-goal run in the second. I'm back, eh? Okay. With Ty Argent and Zach Sunderland on the power play to take a 3-goal lead. But with just a couple of minutes left in the second, Ross Hill and Thunderhill both score, and we're a 1-goal game. Gareth Hay on the power play to open the third makes it a 2-goal game, but Zach Hairwires again makes it a 1-goal game. The difference maker in this was a shorthanded goal by Dawson Brown, followed by a power play goal on the same power play from on the next power play by Jordan Goddard. They trade goals. Shane Holloway and Gareth Hay add to the Hamilton lead. Jordan Goddard brings it within 2 again, but that's as close as it came. Hamilton outlasts Six Nations in an absolute back-and-forth fest for the victory. But the way Hamilton has been loading their lineup, expect more of this. The big day yesterday was over in Brooklyn, where I'm still here.
Yep. You are. You're here.
I'm still here, yes.
Yes.
The big day was yesterday in Brooklyn, where Six Nations played the Brooklyn Merchants in the early game, and the Six Nations Chiefs played the Brooklyn Lacrosse Club in the later game. This was a great game. Six Nations came out with a great theory. They wanted to push the tempo and be aggressive. And, well, that worked at the beginning because they got out to a 4-1 lead. But that aggression also was their downfall because in one particular play, they took 3 penalties, which put them down 2 men and gave a penalty shot to Parker Pfeiffer, who made no mistake. And before you knew it, it was 4-3. Not long after that, Six Nations comes and continues what they were doing. But Brooklyn seemed to match goal for goal the rest of the way. Brooklyn matched the rest of the way. Six Nation comes out with a 13-11 victory. Only the second loss for Brooklyn of the season. Whilst Rogers continues to play around with me, why don't we head on over to the WLA?
Sure thing. I guess we can start on
Can't
Sunday
get a
night.
weekend with Rogers, eh?
No, got to buy more Jays tickets apparently.
I like season tickets with the Jays.
Pay that Rogers off. Anyways, yeah, on Sunday night, as we're kind of going off the air, we had Cole Quitlam, who's kind of on a tear lately. They beat the Nanaimo Timbermen 13-8, and really for the most part, the Adanacs had control of this game from start to finish. Brett McIntyre led the way with a goal, 4 assists. For the Adanacs, Jalen Chester had a goal and 3 assists. Jake Royer had a hat trick for the Adanacs, as well as Keen Moon. Walter Clark had a pair of goals and assists as well. In goal, of course, Christian Del Bianco faced a ton of shots, 56 shots, saved 48. For the Timbermen, Ryan Sheridan, hat trick, an assist. Luke Pilcher, 2 goals. Thomas Vason had a goal and 2 assists as the Adanacs start climbing the standings. In our other Sunday night game, we had the Maple Ridge Burrards with a 16-7 win over Langley. Kind of a big one too, as kind of they're in the mix for that kind of 4th and final playoff spot. And really, it was a big first period for Maple Ridge, outscoring Langley 8-2. Also had a 6-4 third period as well in this one, including a big, I guess it was a 7-goal run between the first and second periods for Maple Ridge. Ryan Jones, 7-point night for him for the Burrards, 2 goals and 5 assists. Riley Lowen, 2 goals and 4 assists. Dagan Carlson had a hat trick and 3 assists for 6 points. Marcus Clarich also had a hat trick and 5 points. And Garrett Winter had 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points as well. And Brandon Humphrey, bit of a bounce back game for him. 32 saves on 38 shots. For the Thunder, he had a goal and 6 assists from Connor Robinson, a hat trick from Nathaniel Kuznetsov, 2 assists from Nathan Lamb, and Caleb Kahn and Kyle Mooney split the time in goal. Kahn had 13 goals against, and Kyle Mooney had 3 goals against in that one.
Moving on to Wednesday's game.
Wednesday, the Shamrocks, Gary.
Hey.
Pick up a big 13-10 win over Langley, and after a couple of rough outings, they needed that one. They really needed that one, and especially on this team that's really struggled lately. Probably not as strong of a Langley team as they've floored in other seasons. I mean, Langley, for the most part, I should say, Langley kept this one fairly close. I mean, it was 10-8 through the first 2 periods. Then it was 3-2 in the third for Victoria. And Patrick Dodds, 5 goals for the Shamrocks. Also to add 2 assists for a 7-point night. A pair of goals by Zach Mans. Hey, if you're a Rush fan, both those guys are Rush property. It's a pretty good sign of things to come. Had a goal, 3 assists from Kyle Pepper. A goal, 4 assists from Andrew Q. Interesting enough, Chris O'Reilly and Cameron Dunkerley split the time in goal. O'Reilly was 37 minutes and 33 seconds, and Dunkerley 21 minutes and 48 seconds, each allowing 5 goals apiece. For the Thunder, Chase Scanlon, a pair of goals. Turu Morimatsu, 2 goals and 3 assists. A hat trick from Nathan Lamb. Connor Robinson a goal and 2 assists. John Phillips a pair of goals, and once again Caleb Kahn in goal. 26 saves off of 37 shots. Then the big game. I guess before we start with New
That
West,
was the big game.
before we get started with New West, I guess they made some news kind of the beginning of the week. They made a trade with Langley to get the playing rights for reigning NLL goaltender of the year, Frank Scigliano. So the deal has Scigliano going to the Salmon Bellies. In exchange, Langley gets the first round picks in 2029 and 2030. And they also signed Owen Grant. Now, Grant is active in the PLL, but he would be eligible for the Man Cup. So if they get that far, that could be a big signing.
Definitely.
Fortunately for them, not a good week. And like I said, they had kind of the gauntlet with the Adnax on I believe on Thursday. Then on Friday, they had Victoria. So it was a tough outing. They picked up their first loss of the season, 8-7 to the Adnax. On a wild game, really. New West scored 6 straight, I believe it was, there between the second and third periods to take a 7-5 lead. Kind of at the it was the 7:14 mark. They were at 7-5 in the third, but then Adnax scored at 8:32 with Riley Isaacs. So now you have 1-goal game. With just over 6 minutes left, Clark Walter scores. Now you got a tie game. Adnax get last possession and pull Christian Del Bianco for the extra attacker. And Jalen Chaster scores with, they say it's 19:59, so I'm assuming it's probably under a second left in that game for the game winner. And handing Salmon Bellies their first loss of the season. James Ray had a goal and 3 assists for the Adnax. Clark Walter, 2 goals. A pair of assists from Keen Moon and Adam Noakes. As I mentioned, Christian Del Bianco. Looking a little familiar from last time he was in the WLA. He's facing a lot of shots, but he's coming out with wins. He had 54 shots and made 47 saves for the win. Well, for the Salmon Bellies, Tyler Pace had a hat trick. Mitch Jones, the pair of goals, 3 assists from Hayden Dixon. And as I mentioned, Frank Scigliano saw his first action in a Salmon Bellies jersey, and he stopped 36 of 44 shots in the loss.
All right. Here we go.
And then
Here we
on to
go.
Victoria. And another 1-goal loss for the Salmon Bellies, 6-5. So you got from no losses to 2 losses and dropping from first to third in a matter of 2 nights in the standings. So it was a rough week, I should say, for New West. I mean, this was one that you kind of expected to as well. Back and forth game. Shamrocks were up 4-2 after the first. Salmon Bellies go ahead 5-4 heading into the third. And then Victoria shut the door 2-0 in the third period. Patrick Dodds scores the tying goal at 9:21. Then on the power play, Mann scores on the power play at 12:35 to give Victoria the win. And Mann's actually led the way with 3 points, a goal and 2 assists for Victoria. Marshall King with a pair of assists as well. He had Matthew Gauthier with the goal and assist. Patrick Dodds as well with the goal and assist. And this time, Chris Regulari went the distance and goal for Victoria. 37 saves on 42 shots. The Salmon Bellies, Jacob Rouet scored two of the 5 goals for New Westminster. A pair of assists from Jake Govett. And Justin Getty actually got the start in this one and faced a ton of rubber, stopped 49 of 55 shots.
Right. We had one last game of the week, and that was the Timbermen and the Lakers, and another 1-goal game.
Yeah, a bit of a thriller for two teams fighting to stay out of the basement, but Burnaby gets the OT winner from Silas Richmond in overtime to beat Nanaimo 8-7. Richmond ends up with a hat trick and 2 assists. Thomas Vela had 2 goals and 3 assists for the Lakers. Gordy Phillips, a goal and an assist. He was 12 of 18 on faceoffs for Burnaby. Jack Charbonneau and Trevane Hunter each had a goal and an assist. And 36 saves for Mark Russell Ripberger, who gets his first WLA win in net.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah. For Nanaimo, Noah Manning, 2 goals, 2 assists. Ryan Sheridan had a goal and 2 assists. Colton Lidstone and Thomas Vason each had a goal and an assist. Devlin Shanahan, 40 saves in the loss. Burnaby, they're sorry, let me just check their record now. They're 2-8. Yeah, so I mean, it seems like maybe they're out of it, but I mean, Maple Ridge is 3-5-2, which is 8 points.
8
so,
points.
I mean, they're only 4 points out away from Maple Ridge, and Langley is pretty much at 8 points as well. So you have to wonder if they can kind of put together a run here, whether they can kind of maybe make a challenge toward that 4th and final playoff spot. I mean, they do have to play Victoria twice in their final 8 games. But they have 2 against Maple Ridge, which would be huge if they could pull those off, and then 1 against each of the other teams. And all of those, pretty much those series are already decided. They're 2-0 against Nanaimo, and then they're 0-2 against Coquitlam, Langley, and New West. But, if they're able to pull off some wins here and string something together, when we talked about the start of the season that this team's probably 1 or 2 steps away from being, having a little
some success.
Yeah. So
just that's good. It's gonna be a tough stretch. Like you do mention, Nanaimo and Maple Ridge. The other one is Langley again, big one. But then, like you mentioned, you still have the Shamrocks. You still have New West. You still have Coquitlam. You have 2 actually against Victoria. You could be hard pressed to get wins against those teams. They're clear and above the top 3.
Yeah, and I mean New West, boy, tough week, and I think they've got to play Coquitlam each of the next 2 weeks as well. So it's just going to be bang, bang, bang. They've got a gauntlet of games over the next few weeks.
Right. All right. Let's keep moving forward here. MSL had a slightly lesser week than weeks previous, but still quite a bit going on. Some strange stuff going on this week, though. We start Monday, and Brampton, who to this point was winless, faced Oakville, who weren't doing exactly so great themselves, but had a few wins under their belt. And Brampton is winless no more. Brampton, on the strength of a really good third period, won 10-6 in this game. probably the most complete effort the team put through of the season. They've come ever so close in the past, but just couldn't get over the hump. This game saw the Excelsiors get stronger and more confident as the game wore on. Tied 2-2 after one, the Excelsiors put together a strong second, led by Shawn, Mike Triolo, who had 3 goals in the game, and Josh Medeiros, who had a pair of goals himself, and getting out to a 6-5 lead after 2. The third saw the Excelsiors take control. Finley Thompson, who had 3 goals and 2 assists in the game, led the way with a pair of goals en route to the 10-6 Excelsiors victory. For Oakville, Sam Leclerc was the big guy there with 2 goals and 2 assists. Also, without Josh Dalwick in the lineup, this team noticeably suffered. Moving into chicken wrap territory, Mike.
4.
There's the count 4,
Right.
yeah.
We had Peterborough and Six Nations, which on paper you would think that this would be a really great game. In person, this wasn't exactly the game that it was made out to be. Six Nations, although this game took a while to get going, it's just so strong. It's just so strong. When you think about these two teams, you always think offensive power. But what was on display in this game was defense and goaltending. And this was a track meet throughout the first period. Both teams up for the challenge. A late goal from the Lakers had them up 3-2 after 1. Second period gave us more of a defensive goaltending clinic for a good portion of the period, but both Nick Rose and Doug Jamieson made sensational saves throughout the frame. The offensive standouts were Joe Ressateris for Peterborough and Shane Jackson for Six Nations, each grabbing hat tricks, as well as Ian McKay with a pair for the Nations. After 2 periods, Six Nations had a 6-4 lead and was starting to ramp up. The third period had the Chiefs starting to pull away, using primarily transition to gain the advantage. Though the offense picked up a bit, this was still a defensive struggle, and it got chippier all the time. Now, these guys face off again in about a week and a half, and that one's going to be huge. Six Nations wins this one 9-6. Moving along to Thursday, and 2 really, really tight games. First, we had Brampton and Owen Sound, in which Owen Sound came back and won in overtime. Tanner Buck being the hero in this game, scoring both the tying and the winning goals to give them the victory. This is a penalty-filled game. Special teams from both teams played huge parts in the result. 9 power play goals as well as 2 shorthanded goals showcased the strong units that each team has. Jackson Webster, who had 3 goals and 6 assists, and Tanner Buck, 3 goals and 3 assists, led the way for the North Stars. Again, Buck had the game-tying and game-winning goals in overtime. For Brampton, Coltrane Tyson, a name you're going to hear a lot more of in the future, 3 goals, 2 assists, and Finley Thompson with 2 goals and 2 assists led the Excelsiors. This game is as even as you're going to find. No team had a lead more than 1 goal the entire night. Teams were even at the end of each period through regulation. Tanner Buck finally put an end to the game with a blast off of Josh Sanchez pass at 2:28 of the extra period, giving the North Stars the victory. We move on over into my next steed, and that was over into Peterborough for the Coburg Kodiaks meeting the Peterborough Lakers. And it was their Canada Day excursion. And if you look at the jersey behind me, that was Brad McCulley's jersey that I took back with me. Brad McCulley, of course, a friend of the show, friend of mine. Excellent. And it was good to see him. And, Tate Katoni was the leading scorer for Peterborough in this game. He had 4 goals. And, he was the bright spot of the offense for Peterborough. After a strong start by Peterborough jumping out to a 2-0 lead, the Coburg Kodiaks got rolling with 3 unanswered goals in the frame. Holden Patterson led the charge with a goal and 2 helpers. in that Kodiak's push, 3-2 after one. A much chippier second period saw both teams spend time in the box. Coburg was able to capitalize on their opportunities, getting out to a 3-goal lead in the period, but a late shorthanded goal from Matt Gilray tightened the game up, setting a must-see third period. Again, this was 7-5 after 2 periods. The third period saw the Lakers get back in it with a pair of goals to tie the game early in the period, but unfazed, the Kodiaks got back to work, scoring a power play goal followed by a shorthanded goal to restore that 2-goal advantage. As I said earlier, Tate Cadoni scored his fourth of the night, which left this game within 1. But from that point on, the Lakers just couldn't solve Jackson Brown, who was spectacular all night long in the Coburg net. Made a number of key saves to keep this a 1-goal cushion, and the Kodiaks hung on for the 9-8 victory in Peterborough. We moved to Saturday, and Oakville met up with Owen Sound. And this was another one of those games where it just went back and forth, and a tight game in which Oakville outlasted Owen Sound 8-7, but it took a goal with 3 seconds left to win this game. For Owen Sound, Jackson Webster with 3 goals and 6 assists, and Tanner Buck were the main guys in there. I'm sorry, I got the wrong game up here, guys. My apologies. So many games, so little time. It was Owen Sound looked like they were going to run away with this game. They jumped out to a 2-0 lead. They were Oakville keep coming back in this game. The big spot was when they jumped out to a 3-goal lead in the third period, up 7-4. With 6 minutes left, Oakville rhymed off 4 goals to putting that one with 3 seconds left. Twice did Oakville do this. In the first period, Oakville got into their goal with 3 seconds left, and again at the end of the game. Interesting how that worked. But the one with 3 seconds left in the third was the game-winning goal. Carson Moyer, the big scorer, with a 3-goal happening in this game. Josh Tolwick with a goal and an assist, but was absolutely instrumental in everything that happened on way for Oakville to come away with his victory. The game I was at yesterday had Six Nations and Brooklyn, and Brooklyn played Six Nations tough. They were tied 3-3 after 1. Brooklyn had their best period of the year. In the second, they jumped out to a 6-3 lead and looked to be in control. But as we all know, Six Nations has many years. And, a shorthanded goal to open the third period is what opened it up, though Dane Smith. But the Tiger Clark then restored that 3-goal lead in the third. However, Ian McKay became a point in this game. He had a beautiful inside swim move that brought the game within 2. Ryan Smith then hit a goal off a Josh Byrne pass, making this a 1-goal game. And then it looked like Brooklyn locked down. Zach Higgins was spectacular in net. But with 3 minutes left, Ian McKay found the back of the net and tied this game up. And no one could solve anything in regulation. Heading into overtime, this game went almost 8 minutes into overtime. I thought this was going to be a tie, honestly. And again, both goalies were spectacular. Warren Hill on the one side and Zach Higgins on the other side, making big save after big save after big save. With just over 2 minutes left, Ryan Smith got a pass, and that was all she wrote. And Just an absolutely beautiful setup from Dane Smith. And Six Nations wins 8-7 in an elongated overtime. Looking at the standings, Six Nations is sitting comfortably in front with 10-1 record. Brooklyn and Peterborough are tied now at 7-4 each. Cobourg has made it into fourth at 5-6. Owen Sound at 4-6. Oakville at 3-7, and Brampton at 1-9. I can't see a team doing that for 4 games out of 7 with Six Nations. Just can't see it. I'd like to be pleasantly surprised. And I think that Brooklyn played well enough to win yesterday. They played their hearts out. But just so many different weapons on so many different occasions. You can't blame anyone in particular. The defense looked good. The goaltending was sensational. Where it came down, where if they could just get one more goal, it would be done. Warren Hill stepped up and just basically said, nothing is going by me. And that's exactly what happened. For roughly 20 minutes, he did not give up, well, more than that, 25 minutes. He didn't give up a goal and made some pretty astounding saves. And where I was basically on the goal line where he was. And watching him make these moves and control his rebounds and control where these things were going, that's half the battle right there. That's experience. And to have someone like Tyson Bell or Steve Priolo or whomever else there to scoop up a Lucy or to fight for a Lucy makes it all the more difficult. And then when you can send, I looked at the one line when they sent it out, and it was Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, Lyle Thompson, Ryan Smith, and whomever else you want to add in there. And it's just, how do you overcome this?
Yeah.
And then you throw in some of the other guys that they're using from the Rivermen, and Davin Bombery gets his opportunities, and they're just amazing where they can draw from and how much talent is there. But it's unbelievable, this team. And then you throw in the coaching of a John Tavares, who, it doesn't matter what the situation, you're not going to see him bent out of shape and calm from the top all the way down. It's just business. And, astounding. But such a great game. What a great day of lacrosse yesterday for the celebration of the Merchants' 25th year. The jerseys are fantastic. I have one of those. There was my name's on it. But, with all the people that have supported the team over the years, and that is spectacular. Great jerseys, and they wore them in the game. So even nicer touch for the Merchants. But that's the week that was. Upcoming, we don't have a couple of games because of Canada Day being on Tuesday. So the first game for MSL happens Wednesday, and it is Cobourg visiting Brooklyn. Thursday, it is Oakville into Brampton. I will be at that game. Owen Sound heads into Peterborough on Thursday as well. Saturday, Six Nations goes up to Owen Sound. And Sunday, Owen Sound, a busy week for them, heads into Cobourg over to the Meatwalker. So, busy week happening and all kinds of things going on. Happy Canada Day and happy 4th of July to everybody, since that'll be happening during the week. And when we see each other, that'll be done. But we'll wish you that again on the back end. Just a reminder to everybody that we are on Facebook. We are on X. We are on Instagram, Thread, YouTube, as well as streampunkentertainment.com. We are your Costco of lacrosse. We are your one-stop shop, giving you everything you need in every portion of lacrosse. Please check back 3, 4, 5 times a day, as the news is always changing, and we have our thumbs on the pulse of the situation. It is our privilege to bring you all the information up to date, on time, and of course, relevant. Want to thank Quinn McLoughlin for coming by and stopping by and talking with us. wishing him the best in all of his upcoming tournaments and everything else that he does. We're looking at setting it up with his coach of US Boxla to come on in about a month. So stay tuned for that. And that'll come about sooner rather than later. We're in the last words. Shawn, last words over to you.
Yeah, just looking forward to this upcoming week in WLA. Standings are kind of becoming a 3-horse race, but really that top spot could go to any 3 of those teams right now.
Excellent. Mike, last words to you.
Yeah, I'll echo WLA and get back to a busy week, and hopefully some of the lower teams can start to make some noise and
absolutely
level out the standings and make a run for the playoffs.
Absolutely. My last words are to all the extra people that we have had with us tonight, and we thank you all for joining us, and we hope you stay with us throughout the NLL year too. I know we got a lot of West Coast people that have come in and watching, and we are your West Coast hookup as well, because I know there are not a lot of shows out there, so we cover everything, and we will be in depth and up to date, fair and balanced as well, and calls it the way it is, not the way we sees it. I want to thank everybody for being with us again as every week, and for checking out what we're doing online and live. For Shawn Slaght over Moose John, for Muffler Mike in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, wishing you the best of weeks as always. Happy Canada Day. Be safe. Happy 4th of July. Be safe. Have fun. And we'll see you again next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of All Lacrosse Live. Until then, remember, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. Have a great week, and we will catch up next week. Maybe they want us to stay on.